will continue even after this panel. To kick us off, can you please begin by telling us how you identify? I'm happy to go first. My name is Angela. I identify as a young, Black, Pan-African female resident in Kenya. I spend all my waking hours supporting and creating spaces for other young, mainly female women from the Global South to contribute to the health and development of Africa. I do this both as CEO of the Financing Alliance for Health, where we support the building of at-scale community health systems, staffed by, of course, 70% and more female health costs, as well as through numerous other avenues. Susan, would you like to introduce yourself in the way you feel comfortable?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Susan Lankisa. I come from Mombasa, Kenya, work with an organization called Collaboration of Women in Development. And I'm so happy to be here. Susan is a mentor, she's a mentee, she's a mother, she's a sister, and above all, a champion and a feminist, not apologetical. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you, Susan. Constancia, over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Constancia Mavodza. I am from Zimbabwe. I'm a young Black African woman, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I identify as a gender and health equity advocate. I spend my day-to-day life working with young people, fighting for their sexual and reproductive health and rights, and I'm an Afrofeminist. I believe in a feminism that is African to ensure that young people are contributing to health and gender equity.
It's such a pleasure to have you with us, Constancia. Alice, welcome.
Hi, I'm Elise Baingana, and I'm a Black African woman, and I also identify as Rwandan. My day-to-day work, my life's work, I guess, is currently to get mental health, to make mental health as accessible as possible for the populations that are usually mostly disregarded in global health. I'm also an advocate for a more equitable world in general and an ally to all liberation movements.
And we're so glad to have you with us, Alice. Kawira, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I'll start by apologizing on my camera. I'm not able to turn it on, but I am Muchunku Kawira from Kenya, and I'm focused every day to bridge the gender gap in STEM. When you talk about STEM, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I identify as a phenomenal, fierce, young, powerful African leader. I am passionate about STEM and women, and I envision a world where the number of women in the STEM decision-making tables is appropriate to the number of men. I also advocate for mental health and good leadership. And in addition to the principles of equality, I believe that women are naturers in nature, and as a result, having more women in leadership position will most likely improve our lives.
And we're so glad that you're spending your time with us as well, Kawira. So to start us off, access to networks is a source of confidence for us as women. It's also a source of relationship-based opportunities and advocacy. Susan, what community networks are you part of, and how has your engagement with them meant to you, and what has your engagement with them, meant to you as a rising leader?
Okay, thank you so much, and I hope you can hear me very clearly. Kindly confirm. Thank you. So, as Susan, I'm part of many network, and thanks to the organization that I am in, Collaboration of Women in Development, we host so many networks. First network is called Pwani GBV Network. The network that brings different organizations and even government institutions who are working against and eliminating gender-based violence. Another network that I'm part of is Mombasa County Advocacy Network. a network that bring different institutions also to do advocacy on policies when it comes to health and budgeting, and also social accountability when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to health. Another network that I'm in, part of a young grassroots movement for young women in the grassroots, that we are able to come out of the East Africa Young Women Mentorship Initiative that I was mentoring. So through that group of young women that I was mentoring into leadership, we were able to form a movement that helped young girls to mentor them on leadership. And this platform has really brought me a very great opportunity. I've been able to access different platforms, not to mention but a few radio stations where I've been able to go and talk on the importance of mentoring young girls to take leadership position, not only politically, but it starts from the school, from churches, any opportunity where they can sit on decision-making table and make their voices heard. Thank you.
Fantastic. And networks, as you said, are very good for critical masses and joint advocacy. Constancia, tell us about your networks and how they've been valuable.
All right, I'll speak maybe to one that I've just recently been part of, and I think they're currently selecting the next cohort. But over the last year or so, I was part of the Aspen Institute Soul Fellowship. And this is really a fellowship that's focused on young women, emerging leaders who really care about advancing women and girls, which is like all that I do every day, right? And what was so unique about that experience was it was a woman-only space. I have never felt so safe. I've never felt like I was part of a community that's trusting. We used to have these circles of trust where we're really there to support each other, where we're really there to celebrate each other. And this is women who are coming from across the globe. And to be able to have that space, especially during COVID, I think, when so many of us had to navigate our own leadership journeys and our own leadership styles and how we were showing up at work and how we were showing up as leaders and as followers, and to be able to have that network and that space of young women where our entire vision and goal in all of our different industries and work is to advance young women and girls has been quite a unique experience. I would wish it for everyone, actually. I wish people could have those kinds of spaces. So in as much as I'm part of a lot of networks and professional spaces, that one right now is something that's really sitting with me, and I didn't realize I needed it until I was within it and I could see how powerful we are as a collective, even when we have so many different kind of strengths, but because we're moving towards a very specific goal, we were able to celebrate and to join each other in that.
Wonderful, and I hope you can loop your co-panelists and many more people into that network.
Yeah, yes.
Alice, tell us about the networks you're part of.
I guess for me, the formal network that I'm part of is Global Health Corps and the Global Health Corps Alumni Network. And for me, it's been, Constancia is part of it. It's been kind of like an incredible support system to have, like, as I make this journey through global health and my work and conceptualizing my work. But also, I think, and I don't think we acknowledge enough the sort of informal networks that we belong to as well, in communities. And I think for me, one big one is the women and girls that I work with and grew up with in Rwanda, and that we generally are working to make this country and generally the world a bit safer and more accommodating to women. And also various online networks of people who are working to decolonize global health and make global mental health a little less colonial in nature. So I think those are the communities and networks that kind of prop me up and keep me going.
And you raise a very valuable point, Alice. They're both formal networks that are organized, but they're also those informal networks and support systems. Kawira, what has been helpful to you so far?
One of the networks that I am part of and I am very grateful about is Akili Dada network that has helped me learn and relearn through their community leaders program. Through this network, I have met other rising leaders who some have become mentors along the way. The network has not only enhanced my leadership skills, but provided me with partnerships and opportunities that have seen me scale up. Speaking at this year's Women Leaders in Global Health Conference, I'll say that it will actually not be possible if I had joined the Akili Dada network. Another network that I am part of is the Tharaka Nithi County Women in STEM. This is a community of young girls and women in the STEM spaces. STEM, as I said, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is a community that I personally founded to provide a network for women in the county, that is the Tharaka Nithi County in Kenya, so as to interact, network, exchange ideas and knowledge while we explore different fields in the STEM, while demystifying this notion that STEM is a field meant for the male gender. In this community, women share opportunities, and I have been able to find so many opportunities through this community, and we create a safe space for girls to speak about challenges they face in the male-dominated space. I'm also part of other communities and networks, and I can say that to grow as a leader, the kind of networks and communities that you're part of are very crucial to determining how much you can rise as a leader.
Such a valid point, Kawira. Networks are so critical to supporting us and advancing our leadership. And I know Constancia mentioned that, she felt very safe having a women-only space that helped her at a time that was very critical to her. So, women do need those women-only spaces to process harms and to feel safe. However, diverse networks are also very key to driving change. So just starting with you again, Kawira, to pick up where you left off, where do you see a need for women-only spaces, and where is it very important to actually have a diverse stakeholder group to actually advance change?
For example, in the STEM realm, there's need for women-only spaces. We know that STEM is a space that is male-dominated, and in such fields, you can find that there are very few women in an environment that has so many men. In such spaces, it becomes so hard for such women to discuss about issues affecting them, since the space is male dominated. Such issues could include how a woman has to show her capability so as to rise up the ladder, and this could include women having to go the extra mile to prove that they can do as much as their male counterparts. In such cases, women-only spaces will create a safe space for discussion on how women in other fields are handling the same. But as much as women-only spaces will be necessary, it is important to embrace diversity so that we can achieve better. From my years of experience, I can say that there is so much strength in diversity. As much as we try to go up the ladder, we need to include our male counterparts in these conversations for us all to agree on better ways to deal with these issues that affect women in the male-dominated spaces. In a way or another, our male counterparts contribute to these issues directly or indirectly, and it will be better solved when we all come together and find a solution.
Alice, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about spaces that actually work, given that you work in not just the mental health space, but other places. Thanks.
I agree with Kawira that women-only spaces are incredibly important, especially as safe spaces and spaces that allow women to build power and solidarity. However, one of the things that I think is important for women-only spaces to consider, especially ones that exist on a global scale, is that when we aren't conscious and very intentional about acknowledging and centering people who exist at intersections of multiple marginalizations, we are at risk of sort of creating microcosms of the global power structure, but with feminine features in these spaces. So I think that's one of the things that I wanted to mention, but also that the women-only spaces, women-only spaces I've been in a few. I think for me, as a place to go and process some of the barriers that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, they're invaluable. But the work of challenging these systems that we live under doesn't exist in these spaces. It exists outside. So we can build power, but we have to be able to get out of those spaces and go do this challenging work of changing the systems that we live in.
That's fantastic. You go and revamp and rejuvenate within the space, but then again, in the real world is where the change happens. In the real world is where we need to challenge the patriarchies. And just taking another lens around, there's a value in women on these spaces, but then even as we talk about leadership, we hear so much around stereotypes in, gender stereotypes in leadership. Women are and should be humble and nurturing and empathetic and collaborative. Constancia, where are the circumstances where these female traits are quite helpful, but where is it also quite negative in terms of how they're portrayed and how they're advanced in conversations and in different spaces?
Oh, they're helpful in every situation. I think that we're existing in a global world that's so complex and so diverse. And in some ways, we're starting to wake up to that. And the very qualities that we as young women, particularly African young women, are raised is literally that, right? To be very nurturing, to be very, I wouldn't say humble, but you're like the person who solves all the problems, who ensures that you hear everyone and their ideas and their experiences and makes sure everyone is on the same page. I mean, the way I'm even saying it, that's literally what a leader should be doing, yeah? But when a woman does it, you're just said you're being a woman, right? No one is going to say you're being a leader because you were raised to be like that anyways. If a man does exactly that, he is automatically said to be leading because it's almost out of the expected norm of what he's doing. So in those ways, it becomes very much, women, you're not promoted, you're not seen as a leader because you're doing what a woman would have done anyways. So that's the challenge that we have when we're thinking about gender equality or gender equity in leadership. And then what usually then happens is when we promote women, then usually you're underpaid, right? Because the male is going to ask for more money and you're given the position, but you're not paid to the same extent that men are being paid. So those are a lot of the barriers that we're facing. It is exactly, I think those qualities or those quote unquote, let's not even call them feminine qualities, let's just call them leadership qualities. Those are exactly what we need. But what we need to be so conscious of is all of the systemic barriers, all of the organizational processes and policies and resources that need to shift to ensure that if women are leading, they can do so with all of the support that they need so that we can actually impact and progress all of the big complex problems that we're currently facing today. So those are leadership traits. Let's not even call them feminine traits. We just need to make sure that we are giving women the positions and the titles and the support and the resources to effectively lead.
Absolutely right. They're not feminine leadership traits. They are leadership traits. And it's unfair to hold one person or one gender over the other or against a standard that is not applied to everyone if that's what is required to do the job. So I cannot agree even more. Alice, I see you nodding your head furiously. Is there something you want to add as well?
No, I absolutely agree that these are essential leadership traits. They're not just feminine. And I mean, the way I look at it, like a lot of times we see like the normal, not normal, but like the standard leader traits versus these feminine traits as like a male versus female leadership standards. But the way I look at it, I see one of the leadership styles as something that is concerned with like collective, with the collective, and the other one being something that is more concerned with individuals and domination. So I think the leadership that we need in this world going forward has to be one that is concerned with the collective and that one that is nurturing and listens to people and pulls everybody as it goes forward instead of like glorifying somebody, like one individual.
Because leadership is leading with others. It's not leading over others or, leading for others, right? Another trait that has always been labeled negatively when it's, something that is so obvious or a woman is actually showing it is ambition. It's again putting this gendering traits that actually are not gendered, right? Susan, what do you think about ambition, and how have you oriented yourself as a rising leader with ambition?
Okay, thank you so much. And through being an ambitious, especially how we are brought up as young girls and young boys, it is okay for the boy to jump from the tree and is strong, but when it comes to a girl, you are told, no, that's so. By the time you grow up, this guy has so much ambition compared to you. Even if we get a job the same place, he's in a place of bargaining more than me because he has been treated, is okay to talk, but the way we bring our girls, it's okay to keep quiet. When you are told it, just be there. When you are beaten, just be there. So in a way, for me, my ambition is to see a world where gender equality is a norm, where it is normal for a girl to go to school. You don't have to compare this girl with a boy. It's okay, it's a right as a girl to go to school. So for me, my ambition is to see young girls taking leadership position, but just the way one of our colleagues talk about, we can't leave the male gender behind. Whenever I go to school, I mentor young girls and I bring also the boys there, especially when it comes to menstrual hygiene. I usually talk to them and I make sure the boys are there because these are the future men. They're the ones who are going to take care of these women. So at the end of the day, if you leave them away, they won't be able to. So for me, I feel at a tender age, we should bring our children with what our young lady said, all our dreams are valid. Whatever that girl wants, our dreams are valid. When it is the boy, it's also valid. So encourage all of them. So we should encourage all the ambition that the girls or the boys have. And that's what is taking me where I am. And I thank God for the mentorship that I go through Akili Dada. We were able to come up with a vision board. Visualize yourself where you want to be in 5 years. Even if the small steps that you are growing, appreciate them. Those are the steps that will take you far and you achieve your ambition. So for me, that's what I can tell any young upcoming leader. Thank you.
Great. Kawira, as a young woman leader, what do you see as your role in igniting an inclusive and diverse feminist leadership in your respective space, especially within the STEM field?
One of the things that I've actually seen work by igniting an inclusive and diverse leadership is providing active role models. When one of the things that we do with my organization is hold women in STEM conferences where we bring women that are already successful in the STEM fields, and such women act as active role models. And by providing these active role models, you find that girls are able to have them as their mentors and they're able to scale up. I remember even on leadership, let me give an example of something that I do on a weekly basis. I participated in the inaugural Miss President reality TV show, and it was during this time I was able to realize that we have so many like-minded, strong women leaders in the world that I was not aware of at the beginning. So meeting such great women at the platform prompted me to commence celebrating and sharing the work of local young women leaders, and as a way of celebrating them. As a result, I have dedicated every Wednesday as the day to celebrate female leaders on my social media platform, where I dub them the hashtag WCW. I believe that it is important to showcase the work of female leaders as a way of opening opportunities for collaboration and also inspiring the next generation of women leaders. So as much as on leadership and also on STEM, when I do all this, I oftentimes receive so many messages of people telling me that such women have inspired them to take up positions or to take up careers that they were afraid of actually they were afraid of taking before they were able to see such women. So I would strongly recommend that we provide active role models to young people and and to the people around, so that we are able to have more women taking up the spaces that they are actually afraid of taking up.
I couldn't agree anymore. We must lift each other up. We must shine the light on each other. And I'm just looking at the chat box. I'm so glad we get to interact with our audience. Thank you so much, Rachel and Sankara and Patience and Samira. We're really loving the love you're showing us on the chat box. Corinne, thank you so much. And Sue, keep the comments coming. We're seeing them. We're appreciating them. Thank you so much to our audience. You know, folks, we never seem to have enough time on these panels, on these sessions, to fully explore critical topics. But maybe as we get to the last few minutes of our time, one last question for a couple of our panelists, and then I'll really ask you to give us your parting shots. Constancia, you told us that these are not feminine leadership traits. They are leadership traits. Let's drop the genderizing of the traits. How do you envision a world where more women are in leadership? What does that look like?
It means more stuff gets done. I think sometimes a lot of the issues that we face in the world affect women the most, and yet we're not found at the decision-making tables. So for me, a world where more women are in leadership is a more equitable world. It means we are going to address the issues that need to be addressed so that our world becomes better. I mean, with the COVID-19 situation, for example, we saw that, you know, countries like New Zealand were doing so much better. I mean, I'm gonna say it's because they have a female president, but that's a very clear example of what it means when you have women in leadership and the styles of leadership and the way they address very complex problems in a way that's beneficial for everyone. And that for me is kind of very critical. So I think we need to be creating a world where more women are in leadership, where we define what leadership looks like for us. So for example, like Alice was saying, you know, you can think of it as a very individual, I need to see Constancia as a leader, or you can think about it as a collective, right? We identify a problem, we act on it, and we add value. That's also leadership. And that's not even about Constancia, right? It's about ensuring that we're progressing whatever the barrier or the change is. And both are critical and necessary. I need to see somebody who looks like me leading, you know, because that's what's going to motivate me to feel like it's possible. But I also know that there are certain systemic issues that need to be changed, and that's a more collective approach to leadership. And all of those are just as necessary and just as critical if our world is going to be, because I'm biased, health and gender equitable. So yeah.
I love it. That is true. We have so many examples from the pandemic period that showed us that, you know, there's definitely a gender lens to how countries were doing better, especially where it concerns leadership. Susan, what about you? What is a world where there are more women in leadership? What does that world look like? How does that world excite you?
I can see a world where if women are taking leadership position, for example, like I'll give an example of Kenya, having a woman Minister of Finance. I think she will consider some of the commodities that we use daily at home when it comes to their budgeting, because when men are in leadership, sometimes they don't consider some things that are usually used by a common mwananchi, especially women in the grassroots. All these things are not put in consideration. And for a fact, women are good managers compared to men. They know even to use, you can give a lady 1,000 shillings and she knows to use it better compared to a man. And the family comes first before herself. So I can imagine where women taking more leadership, I can see resources well used and even corruption going down, because we have that heartful heart. We don't want to misuse resources. So I feel like more resources will be put in the right place. Our girls, like for example, when it comes to sanitary towels, those are the things that you consider not putting tax. You go to the toilets, you get condoms are there. Why don't they consider putting sanitary towels also there? So I feel like if there are women leaders, they will think about this because it's something that they have gone through when it comes to reproductive health and even maternal health. But how can a man understand this so much unless he's taken through by a woman? So for me, I feel when women take leadership, especially higher leadership, they are able to manage resources well. Thank you.
Exactly, Susan. And the truth is, we do have a lot of evidence that shows, even in programs such as cash transfer, that those cash transfer programs that actually put the resources in the woman's hand have been more successful over time. And it actually proves the point you're raising that, women are responsible with resources that are entrusted with them, and they do actually uplift the community with those responses, these resources that are given directly to them. Kawira, it would be good to hear from you as well. What a world where women are given a chance to lead and are encouraged to lead and given the spaces to lead. How would that world look to you? And Alice, I'm also coming to you with that question because I think I would love to hear from everyone on this panel. And I see we've been given some extra minutes, so that's also good to us. Kawira, what are your thoughts?
I think we'll be in an amazing world, in a perfect world. Women are naturers in nature. They are just naturers in nature. When you give a woman a house, they'll give you a home. If you give a woman some maize, they give you a meal. So women are naturers in nature. They care, they love, and they are empathetic, they are sympathetic. So where we have more women in leaders, it means that we'll be nurtured more, will be taken care of more, will be better loved. And I think the world will be a totally different place. Things will totally be different. We love everything. I'll just say the world will be amazing because just women are naturers in nature. Yeah.
Alice, what about you?
I don't know. I guess when I imagine a world where more women are leading, for me, it doesn't look anything like this world. At least the power structures don't look anything like this. For me, I don't find anything particularly inspiring about women taking up these positions that are currently being held by men, unless that is going to lead us to shifting the power downward, shifting the resources downward towards the community level, where the women are already leading. They're already doing the work. They're taking care of their communities and their families. They just need the resources and the decision-making power to continue to do it. So for me, a world where women lead is a world where the power structure looks completely different and resides within communities. Yeah.
And that is so true. It's not just about giving women more spaces in formal leadership, but it's also recognizing where they do actually lead on a day-to-day basis and recognizing and celebrating that role that they play and also providing more opportunities for them to contribute. I would love to hear your parting shots, ladies, before we close up this very interesting conversation. Constancia, I'll start with you. I'd love to hear your parting shots. And then to Susan, Kawira, and then Alice, take us home with your parting shot.
Wow, what would my parting shot be? Don't be afraid to be ambitious. I think ambition is just as important. I think as women we'll do it differently because we're ambitious, but we're going to take every other woman along with us, right? We're going to lead to create more leaders. So be as ambitious as you need to be as, some people will tell you you're assertive or too aggressive, but the difference is I am going to drag every young woman I came with me. If we're going to go to the top, I'm taking you with me. If that slows me down, that's fine, but we're all going to the whatever that top is. So for me, that's what it is. I think also not waiting for the title to come. So like we've been saying in this conversation that so many women, at least in global health and development, we're already leading, right? We're already shifting systems. We're already taking care of communities. And the shift really just has to be on us to realize that that's actually leadership. So it's this idea of not stopping the work because the work is bigger than any individual, than any of us, but also starting to really realize that we are already leading, and we need to start acknowledging that.
Suzanne?
For me, I will say as young women, let us celebrate the small achievement. Don't wait it to be big. Start it small and celebrate it. I'll also like to say that whenever you get a platform, know that you are not representing yourself, but you are representing a larger group behind you of women who never got an opportunity to be in that platform. Also, what I can say is dream big and don't fear, because all dreams are valid. And once you have that ambition, then yes, it can be. Thank you.
Amazing. Kawira, your thoughts?
Okay, I'll say go after your dreams, don't fear to dream, and remember that the first criteria to be a leader is to want to be one. You really need to want to be a leader for you to become a leader. And great leaders are students. They learn so that they can lead. And how do they learn? They practice about leadership. They learn about leadership. They study, they read magazines, they take classes, they research, they practice it every day. They even ask for help. So don't be afraid to learn. All you need is to learn, and you'll definitely become a great leader. And also consider networks. Join as many networks as you can, and definitely you'll be the great leader that you've always wanted to be.
Alice, over to you.
Parting words. I don't know, I guess I want to mention that these fights that we're all a part of, like the gender equity, health equity fights, are all really essentially parts of this bigger challenge to this global power structure that has historically harmed and continues to harm people and communities and planets. And that work is not going to be done by like 2 or 100 exceptional women. It's going to be done by like building movements and a lot of community care and a lot of community organizing and collective action. And for me, I love that. I love looking at it that way a lot more, because it allows and calls for people to join in wherever they feel able to contribute. You don't have to rise to any tables. You can do it where you are and participate. And I think a lot of times when we talk about women leaders in global health, like we think, you know, WHO, who's going to go to Geneva? Like, what are they going to look like? But, you know, most of us don't really have those ambitions. Like, I don't want to move to Geneva. I love where I live. And I would like to do my work where I am and be able to do it and have it be meaningful. So I think, yeah, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we are a very huge global collective, and we are going to definitely, we're going to get there.
I don't know about everyone else, but I can see from the chat, you women have been fantastic. You're so inspiring. Thank you so much for your time, your insights. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. I celebrate you all in the amazing work that you have and continue to do in the different spaces that you lead. I know everyone's like, oh, we want more, but unfortunately, there's never always enough time for us to really explore the conversations and the stories that we have. Let's keep this discussion going and alive on social media and in various other foreign platforms. Let's continue creating the spaces and supporting people and young women leaders to step into those places. For all the attendees who have joined us today, you can now navigate back to the agenda page, where you'll have an opportunity to RSVP for the networking rooms. There you'll have a chance to meet other attendees and engage in rich discussions. I want to thank you all for your time, for your energy in the chat box. Thank you so much for continuing to engage us. We are so grateful that you chose to spend this 55 minutes with us today. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of your conference, and feel free to reach out to the amazing women on this panel as well, if you want to chat with them and follow up with them on everything that they have mentioned. I thank you all, and you have a great day. Thanks everyone, and bye.